It's time for Twig This Week in Google. A great show for you. Jeff Jarvis has the day off, but we've got a great fill-in with Danny Sullivan from Search Engine Land. He knows all about those new Google snippets, why publishers might be a little bit upset, and the Google changelog has some good news for Gmail users. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig This Week in Google, episode 268, recorded September 24th, 2014. You had me at Blackberry. This Week in Google is brought to you by BarkBox, a monthly box of high-quality, fun, and healthy goodies for your dog, delivered right to your door. Save 20% when you sign up for a new subscription. Visit BarkBox.com/twig. That's BarkBox.com/TWIG. And by Braintree. If you're a developer or a manager of a mobile app and searching for the right payments API, check out the new One Touch from Braintree, the fastest, easiest, most secure way to pay in-app. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to BraintreePayments.com/twit. And by Harry's. For guys who want a great shave experience for a fraction of what you're paying now, go to Harrys.com. Save $5 off your first purchase by entering the code TWIG when you check out. It's time for Twig This Week in Google. A show that's all about Google, but not just Google, the Facebook, the cloud, the Twitter, and all of that stuff. Of course, Gina Trapani is here from thinkup.com, founding editor at Lifehacker. Hello, Gina, host of All About Android, Android Guru. Also, Jeff Jarvis has the day off. He's traveling, right? He's in one of those travel loops that he gets in every once in a while.
Yeah.
It is a loop, though. He flies to New York, then Germany, then back, and then New York to Bahrain, then back, and then New York to I mean, he's like, it's weird.
He's a travel animal.
He's a traveling man. But he'll be back next week, I think. I won't. I'll be in London next week. So.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll take a week off.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. But look who's replaced Jeff. This is great. Danny Sullivan is here from Search Engine Land. Hey, Danny.
Hey.
He is obviously a skateboarder and a tweeter.
I'm well known. Tony Hawk is always saying, "Dude, come on over." And,
really?
No.
That's pretty awesome. Wow.
I bought it. You should have rolled with that, Danny.
Yeah, that's good.
He doesn't live too far from you.
Yeah.
He's in San Diego, I think.
That would be pretty cool. I actually did take a few skateboarding lessons because I felt like I should, but
yeah, because you live in San Diego. I think everybody's supposed to skateboard there.
Yeah, we should all be doing that in Southern California, but it's actually like it's a Google skateboard that they have.
Oh, that's neat.
See it.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah.
So I like the logo that was on it, and I did like that it was a skateboard.
And then you have a snowboard too. So
that's a Bing snowboard.
Is that a Bing board? Oh, sweet.
So
you are
we have a lot of board meetings in California, as you know. So anyway.
Being very fair. Very fair.
But you can never see the Bing behind me. So people are like, you got all that Google stuff. And I'm like, but no, it's like a big, you just can't see the logo. So there you are.
Hey, I got a little something in the mail today I'm a little bit excited about.
Oh, is that the watch? The 360?
No, I did order the watch. I think it comes later next week or something.
Oh, you got the Moto X.
This is the phone, baby.
Oh, I saw that.
You want to do a little mini unboxing? Actually, I already opened it up, so it's not exactly a official unboxing.
Let's do it.
Let's do it anyway. So I chose the cognac leather back.
Nice.
Ooh,
and it is nice. And it actually, it really does smell like leather. I mean, it's got that leathery smell to it.
Oh yeah, the dimples in it really, yeah.
The dimples changed a little bit, but it's still there. I think it's very attractive. And the flash is in the ring, although it's not a two-tone flash or anything like that. It's just a dual flash. And a metal, now for the first time, a metal rim all the way around it.
Yeah, that's a good-looking phone.
I think it's really gorgeous. Now compare it to this is the iPhone 6, and you can compare the two. They're similar in size. The iPhone 6 is 4.7 inches, which is what the old Moto X was. So this is obviously a little bit larger than the old Moto X.
Wow, they actually don't look that different. Although the iPhone has those nice, those kind of shiny edges there. I don't know the way the glass sort of bends.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
it's rounder.
But this has rounded glass too. I think this must be a new technique that everybody's doing. So this has the glass. It's edge-to-edge glass, or it feels like it is. I think it is, and then it's rounded at the edge, which it would have to be, otherwise it would cut you. I like just little touch. This is the on-off button and the volume rocker on the same side. So to distinguish between the two, you can't see it, but they've scored the on-off switch. So you can easily. It's like the edge of a dime. You can easily tell when you're on the on-off switch as opposed to the volume rocker.
That's nice.
I think that's a nice little touch. And of course, it's the talkie version, and you can this time program it. So I can say, "Hello, Moto X. Hey, what's happening? How you doing?" Instead of "Okay, Google now," it now says now you can say whatever you want. And it's boring to say "Hello, Moto X." I should probably make it say something else, like "What's up? What's up?" So yeah, I mean, it's 1080p now. Oh, okay, okay, thank you. It's talkative little. It's what was I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, it's a 1080p screen and the 13 megapixel camera, which is still not as great as the iPhone, but better. Do you miss after all the iPhone hype, Gina? Now you're really solidly in the Android camp. You have to be. Do you miss it?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing that I miss about it, and I was talking about this on All About Android last night, is I still have this creeping feeling that the iPhone camera is better, that the photos are better, with less effort. In fact, Lisa Bettany just did a post.
Oh,
she did
gorgeous.
a great post, side-by-side photos in different lighting situations of every model of the iPhone. And I got to tell you, the 6 photos, particularly like when she zoomed in on detail in low light, they were amazing. You know, like the OnePlus camera's okay. And I'm not a photographer. I just want to press the button and get a good photo every time. Like, I'm not messing with settings. I'm not, you know, but I take, you know, a dozen photos, a dozen shots every single time and hope that one of them comes out well. And I got to tell you, I think that the iPhone still has like a better, I think it's still producing quality photos. And we were talking about this last night, and it was like, why is this happening? And I think it's because, you know, Apple makes the hardware and they make the software. And I think from day one, Apple just prioritized the camera in a way that Android didn't, partially because Google wasn't doing the hardware manufacturing. So that's the only thing that makes me want an iPhone, I'll be honest.
But, and it's an important thing because I think many people consider this their camera more than their phone even.
Yeah, and I have a small child, and I think to myself, like, are the photos that I have of my daughter when she's a baby, you know, should they be better? You know, 20 years from now, am I going to hate myself retroactively for not having a better camera on me? Because I barely get out the DSLR. So
Lisa Bettany, who's, of course, a friend of the networks and a pro photographer, and the author of Camera Plus, which is one of the #1 camera apps on the iPhone, had all the iPhones and took roughly the same picture with all of them, which is about, I think, 7 different or 8 different devices. It's amazing that she had 8 working iPhones for one thing. But it's really valuable to see how they've improved. But even more than that, in the industry, there's a company that makes software for Lightroom called DxOMark. And they've become very well known for their acuity testing of cameras. I think they're widely trusted. DxO Labs, they're called, and it's dxomark.com. They gave the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus the highest rating of any mobile phone on the market. The next one up is the S5, then the Xperia Z3, then the Z2, then the Nokia 808 PureView, which is that 41 megapixel camera. So I mean, even better than the 1020, which is kind of middle of the pack. So now people will argue this with you. And in fact, whenever I say I think the iPhone camera is the best camera, the Nokia people jump up and say, you're wrong. But I mean, even DxOMark, based on clarity, based on color accuracy, exposure and contrast, accuracy of focusing, all the things that you care the most about, said it's really, really good. Especially good in low light, I mean, compared to other cameras. So, yeah, I miss that. Actually, I don't miss it because I have it. But
well, I was going to say you have it, so I'm curious to know. So
I wish it were in the Moto X because then I wouldn't need an iPhone.
Right, right. So that's the 6 or the 6 Plus?
This is the 6, which is really what people should buy. The 6 Plus is like clown shoes. It's too big. And apparently it bends like clown shoes as well, which is another issue.
So only the Plus bends.
Well, I think they're both bendable because it's this, it's metal and it's thin.
All right.
71 millimeters. So
but the 6 would be more likely to bend because it's just so much larger.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, you're like if I put the 6 Plus in my back pocket, first of all, someone's just going to steal it because it's just sticking out of the back pocket. Right. But also, it's just going to crush if I were stupid enough to sit down on it. But to whereas other phones that are a little more compact, they'd probably slide around and
Well, and this comes up because iPhone users have had a little phone that you could put in your back pocket, and all of a sudden they have this giant phone and they haven't changed their habits much. So get a man purse or a woman purse and put it in there because otherwise you're gonna squish it. And I would say the 6 even will be prone to that a little bit. It seems to bend right where the battery ends internally and the volume rockers begin. That seems to be a particular inflection point.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Great.
The iPhone 6 is a good-looking phone. Reminds me of the HTC One, the M8 a little bit. That band across the back, I really like.
Doesn't it look like that?
Phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's thinner.
I really love the phone. And it looks really thin. So you got the Moto X and you've got the iPhone. Yeah. So
I thought the Moto X was the best phone of the year last year, even though it didn't spec-wise compete with some of the other really high-end phones, including the ones that we use, the One Plus One. But I always felt like the Moto X was my phone. The other ones were ones I was using, but this was my personal phone, and I think it's going to be the same with this one, especially since it smells like a men's club. The high end kind, not the sleazy.
Not the sleazy kind.
It smells like leather chairs and cigars.
Gentlemen's club.
A gentleman. That's even worse.
Yeah, that's bad too, isn't it? That doesn't work
they
either.
They spoiled the name, Gentlemen's Club. And I like the speech features on the Moto X. Sorry, it does respond. I'm going to have to change it to Jarvis. Well, no, that won't work either. And now they've got infrared sensors on the corners, so when it's doing the sleep thing, you can wave over it. I'll put it to sleep and I'll show you. So it's sleeping, the screen's off, but if I wave over it, it'll show me the time, and if I have any notifications, they'll be available as well.
Does it not do? I read that it doesn't do the sort of always-on fading thing, though. Is that right?
It doesn't. It waits till you wave at it, which I think is actually the right thing.
All right.
If you wait, it's easy to wave at it. It used to be it would pulse up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And I imagine that would kill the battery life somewhat. Don't know about battery life because I literally just got it hours ago. One thing I'm a little concerned about, and maybe somebody in the chat room or somebody watching can fill me in. Last year, Motorola, they had this Motorola Skip, which was an NFC tag, either on a sticker or a little leather thing you could put on your pocket, and you could tap a locked Motorola phone to the Skip and say, that one I want to unlock. Either my Skips are broken or it doesn't work with Skip anymore. I noticed it's not in the copy anymore. They may have turned that off. You could still pair with trusted Bluetooth networks, which is really great. And if you have the Moto 360, I'm thinking that's probably one of them. So you could say, as long as we're in proximity, I'm unlocked. Yeah. I'm not sure that's a good
that's
idea,
nice. That's really nice.
Yeah, because locking's a pain, and you'd like to use a strong lock instead of just a swipe. So if it's easy to unlock with a tap, then that would be pretty cool. Screen looks good, not great, good. It's a Super AMOLED, like last year, but again, higher resolution. Jury's out. We'll see. I just got it. I'm going to London with both it and the iPhone 6. Both will be on T-Mobile because T-Mobile offers unlimited international calling and text, as well as 2G data for free. So that'll be.
Oh, right. So you got this 6 unlocked, and so you can pop in your T-Mobile card.
I didn't. I got the Verizon 6, but it turns out you can pop in your T-Mobile card.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the same thing that happened with me with the iPhones. Was that I was really surprised I bought the T-Mobile unlocked, and I put my AT&T card in, and that worked fine, which is what I expected. But then I threw my Verizon SIM into the T-Mobile iPhone, and that LTE and data, and I was all working as well.
Yeah, I remember you reading about it. In fact, you were the one who inspired me to do it. And the reason is that the new iPhones have all the bands, and Verizon's doing voice over LTE, and so everything now is we're not in the day. We're rapidly moving out of the bad old CDMA versus GSM days.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness. That's such a difficult thing to explain to like family members and stuff. It's like, no, that's a different thing. You need this thing. I was like, what?
So for,
and mental maps of what carriers are what, and normal people don't know that, and they shouldn't have to. So
due to an FCC ruling when Verizon acquired the LTE bands, they're required to not lock their SIM slot. So the Verizon phone can be used with a SIM from at least from AT&T and T-Mobile, as well as Verizon, and also from international carriers, I think, because you've got every band in here.
Well, and that was the other things. I took my old Verizon phone, which was on my iPhones. I had my iPhone 5S, which was Verizon, so I threw my AT&T card into that, which I'd never done before, and that completely opened up, and it was fine. So
I was able to get LTE on T-Mobile on the Verizon, which is new, that you couldn't do that before, and we'll see how it works in Europe, you know, or in England anyway. So travel-wise, I'm set.
Yeah, you are. You are. I want to see some photo comparisons.
You will. Yeah, that's one of the things I'll very likely do. I'm also bringing a good camera, and that's the other side of it. Is while I do use the camera phone a lot, if I'm serious about where I am, I'm going to take a good camera with me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So that's the story of the Moto X. They did start shipping. I'm sorry, I gotta change the name. The Moto 360, they are back in stock, and those are also shipping, I think, next week. And I did order the Hint, which is their standard Bluetooth earbud, but it's designed to do some extra stuff. I think it's touch-free with Moto X.
Oh, so when does that come? Didn't get that yet? I want to call it the Her. I don't want to.
I do too. I'm going to say.
Let's just call it the Her.
Maybe just say hello, Scarlett.
What was her name? I forget now what her name was.
Samantha. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That might. I don't know. That might borderline a little creepy if you called the phone Samantha.
I would like it because actually, if it had Scarlett's voice, because I don't know how you feel. Siri's voice I've gotten used to, but the Moto X Google voice is strident. I'll give you an example. Let's get out of this. Let me think. What am I going to do here? Hello, Moto X. What's the weather in Petaluma?
Unlock your phone to continue.
It's just a little, I don't know, a little strident.
It's 78 degrees and overcast in Petaluma.
Siri just seems nicer. You disagree?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
No. The voice is it's still a little robotic. I think it's difficult to get it, kind of softer. But I haven't used Siri in a really long time.
Well, you want to hear Siri these days? I think she's sounding a little bit better. I forgot what I do to start Siri. Oh, I have to press a button. By the way, I have to be careful on the shows now because if people have their iPhone hooked to the power and you say, "Hey Siri," it will actually wake her up and she'll start doing stuff. How long is the Golden Gate Bridge?
Golden Gate Bridge is 8,981 feet long.
Long. She seems friendlier.
Yeah, she does. Interesting, and her voice is a little lower. Now we got to get Cortana into the mix, but
I actually like Cortana's voice. So my Windows phone is in the other room, so I can't. But I actually like. You have it there. There goes Danny. He's gonna get.
There goes Danny. His Bing board.
Can I update? I can upgrade the voice on this, right? I can download better sound.
So you need to have celebrity voices, right? Like you.
That's a TomTom. I used to have. I used to have great celebrity voices on my TomTom. I had
my TomTom one versions I went great because you could have you could put your own voice, and I had my kids do all the turns, so they'd be like, well, "Go forward, make a U-turn."
Daddy, go forward, Daddy.
Actually, whenever I would have to do the U-turn, because that was usually a sign that I was lost, it would say, my wife would go, instead of saying, "Do make a U-turn," it would say, "Why don't you pull over and ask directions?"
That's good. I like it. So let's hear Cortana. Okay. You got Cortana?
Oh, yeah. Okay. What do you want her to say? I don't
know.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear. If you'll be able to hear it.
Oh, it doesn't have a speaker?
Yeah, but I don't know if you can hear it through my headset.
Oh, just put it right up there.
All right, hang on. There we go. How long is the Golden Gate Bridge? Oh. How long is the Golden Gate Bridge?
I like the musical tone.
It'll take 6 hours and 51 minutes to drive to Golden Gate Bridge.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Oh,
It says it'll be 6 hours to drive there.
All right. That's not too long. Let's go.
it doesn't sound at all like Cortana in the game.
6
No.
hours, 5 minutes or so.
No.
They should have gotten Cortana from Halo to voice. I'm like so disappointed because I love Cortana and Halo. So, and I know this is like a different Cortana, but I wanted the voice to be the same.
Ask Cortana what she thinks of Siri. Does she say anything about that?
Oh, she's got a whole series of things that she does. Like
that's one thing that both iPhone and Apple and Microsoft do is there's some personality.
What do you think about Siri?
Hard to say. So far, our conversations have been kind of one-sided.
She's great. I mean, there's inflection. Of course, that was pre-recorded. So that's another thing that Microsoft's doing, which is intelligent. These canned speeches, and this is obviously one, are treated differently than synthesized speeches.
Yeah.
So it does sound. That sounded great. That sounded great. Morgan Freeman would be good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, someday. Ask who Bill Gates is married to.
Oh.
Who is Bill Gates married to?
Bill Gates is currently married to Melinda Gates.
Well, I don't like that currently part.
I like
Currently?
Like you know, right now this is the answer. But
I'd
you better
fix
check back
that.
tomorrow.
I'd fix
Abilities.
I would fix that. Holy cow. Jiminy Christmas. Well, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but right now.
Right now, things are good with Bill and Melinda.
Just another thing,
Jeez.
who is your father?
Technically speaking, that'd be Bill Gates. No big.
Oh yeah.
I like that. But again, you heard all that inflection.
No big deal.
Technically speaking, those are pre-recorded, obviously.
Yeah.
They're not synthesized. That's fun. All right, enough. You know, you notice one thing. Both Danny and I got kind of speaker's block when we have to think of what to say.
Yeah.
What should I say?
What should I ask her?
I think that's kind of a problem with these systems in general. Do either of you use voice a lot?
I've been using it more if I have something complicated and I want to annoy my wife. She's like, it's always like, blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't do it. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, just type it in. But no, like I was doing it yesterday and I was trying to look up something and I just spewed out a whole bunch of things and it came up with it. I think this was on Google Now. If it's something complicated and I think I'm in a quiet environment and I just want a quick answer, I use it a lot more for commands that I'm really confident will work. Like it's very rare for me to set my alarm clock by hand. I'm always like, set the alarm for 6 a.m.
That's a great example.
Set the alarm for 6 a.m.
It's
you
so
will get
easy.
2 hours, 25 minutes sleep. It's great. Yeah.
I agree. That timers. In fact,
timers and reminders. Yeah,
I use the Android Wear watch to do that, and those are really good examples of something you can do more quickly with voice than you could do. But searches and things like how do I get here and stuff like that. I guess navigation's pretty good.
Navigation's good, yeah. I do it while I'm cooking, while my hands are wet or covered in breadcrumbs. Set a reminder, how many cups in a whatever, you know, that kind of thing. But not as much as I thought I would. I thought the watch would make me do it more. I really just still use the watch just to thumb through notifications and dismiss them. But I have friends who love it and reply to text messages and do the voice commands from their watch a lot more. I don't know. I feel a little bit like a doofus. So maybe that's just me being too self-conscious.
No, I think you're not alone. I think that's part of the issue, isn't it? And that's one of the things holding all of this stuff back is that the voice interface is such a public thing.
Yeah.
You know, last night we saw a new movie called The Drop, and I really liked the actor in it, but I didn't know who it was, and so I used Siri, and it worked quite well. I said, Siri, who stars in The Drop? She told me, and one of the names was Tom Hardy, and I said, Siri, who is Tom Hardy? And she read his Wikipedia article, including what movies he'd been in. That was a very nice, very convenient interaction that worked quite well. I think Siri is much better, by the way.
During a movie that you were watching?
Yeah, and I got a few cat calls. It's a popcorn thrown at me, but otherwise, no, it was after it was after the movie. By the way,
it was after the movie.
Excellent movie. Not what you think. It's Really, really good movie. Really, really good movie. All right. One of the reasons I wanted to know who the lead was is because he's so good in this movie. Here comes Google 2.0. According to Larry Page, in the future, Google will build cities and airports. That's the headline in The Verge. Anyway, the information. Actually, I should look up I am actually a subscriber, so instead of doing the meta reporting, I should actually log
the
in.
information thing. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, the problem with the information is that it's $400 a year, and a lot of people don't subscribe to it. So all that happens is all the other, The Verge just repeats it.
And all the blogs
I kid you not, my renewal thing for the information is on my screen.
Yeah, yeah.
It must have been a year because we need you to renew.
I renew. Jessica Lesson deserves our support because I think they do a great job. But it's, is it $400 worth great? I don't know.
$100 a year. That's a pretty,
especially since you can read pretty much everything or listen to Twit because I regurgitate. So anyway, Amira Fradi, who has excellent contacts at Google, wrote the piece, Google 2.0.
So what does this mean? So, okay, Google's going to build cities and airports. I mean, many a time I've been sitting on the tarmac wishing that Google could point its, smarts at making airports more efficient. I just don't know what that would look like.
So
maybe they could just make the security checkpoint more efficient. Maybe after you put your thing through the thing, they could split into 2 areas. I mean, but okay, let's redesign the entire of the airport.
So this comes, Amir and his co-author, Hunter Walk, have combined a variety of sources. This isn't an interview they did with him. But what I thought was kind of interesting, this Google 2.0 thing, which is absolutely happening. Page cleared out space on his floor. He has his own floor at Google headquarters to oversee a series of workshops run by Google's Vice President of Business Operations, Kristen Gill. Apparently, this feels like that there might be between Larry and Sergey kind of something going on because, Sergey basically runs Google X. That's his R&D lab. Right. Apparently, Larry wants to start his R&D lab that he would oversee personally. Some call it Google Y.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like, well, Larry's getting all the fun projects. I need my own. And that does not bode well for a company when you've got the two founders not feuding exactly, but in a rivalry.
Yeah, and for listeners, it's not Y, W-H-Y, although you might ask that. It's
that would have been good.
The letter
Google
Y.
Although I didn't read it so much like, oh, Sergey, you get to have all the fun with Google X. I want to have Google Y so I can have fun. I read it more like Google X is doing these really long-term things that are not going to immediately change stuff. So Google Glass is still lurking out there, but that's probably the closest thing that you have to a dramatic change that a consumer might use.
But isn't Glass even Sergey's thing?
Well, yeah, but I mean that would fall under Google. Yeah, I think it's still under Google X. I could be wrong though. It might have migrated out. But like the auto-driving cars, we're like 5 years, 10 years away from that really being a type of thing. And my impression from the article was that Larry would like to have a Google Y to make maybe not moon shots, but I don't know, suborbital shots.
Shorter moon. So Google X is on a 10-year time frame.
Yeah, but the idea, although, redesigning airports is not exactly something that happens tomorrow.
Yeah, but
I don't know. It says this is even longer term programs than Google X. So it sounds to me like Larry's just obsessed with different problems than Sergey is. I mean, we saw that. Have we seen Larry wearing glass in public? I mean, that's always been a Sergey thing. Even with the IOs, were sort of the different years were led by different founders, and we heard a lot from Glass. And Sergey was wearing glass, and we had the crazy demo with the skydivers. And then the next year, it was run by Larry, and it was a lot different. We didn't hear a lot about that, and he did the Q&A. It's kind of a different tone. I hope it's not a competition and more just these are just two different people with sort of different ideas of what the long-term problems to focus on are, although maybe if they're not on the same page, that's a bad thing. I don't know.
Well, you're right. If they have different portfolios, different goals, then it's not a rivalry, then it's complementary. So maybe that's it. Friday writes, some of the Google 2.0 workshops fizzled, say people briefed about the event or the effort. One involved Mr. Page's desire to build up a subscription business so that Google wouldn't be so dependent on advertising. You know, paid Gmail, for instance. Page even discussed with colleagues the notion that ad-supported services can sometimes be lower quality than paid offerings. I guess Google Apps is a paid offering. That would be the example. The problem, of course, is paid services have smaller reach. And Friday, Amir writes, and Google's all about reach. Another Google 2.0 project involved location. Larry determined that Google in the future should know a person's precise location down to the inches, not just that they're in a particular room or store. That way, people might be able to know who else is in a room with them. This is what Apple's iBeacon does, by the way. It describes exactly where you are in the room, and that's useful for merchants because they can have different things triggered on your phone depending what you're standing in front of. But by knowing which aisle a person was at inside a store, for instance, Google could potentially provide helpful information to the shopper about what's there. This is exactly what iBeacon does. Google could also let people pair their smartphone with another device. Ads, information. Hey, I got some information for you.
Yeah.
You want a pizza?
You don't want that pizza. You
Not
want
that
this
pizza.
You've already got pizza at home.
So I know it's a great article, and an interesting article. And new airports. He thinks that, for instance, Elop's plan to create a hyperloop railroad between San Francisco and LA, so that instead of 6 hours and 3 minutes to get here, Danny could be here in seconds. He thinks that's a terrible idea, but he says planes work. Why don't we have better airports, better flights? Friday writes in the comments, it didn't make the cut, but Larry Page also thinks Wall Street is broken. Maybe a better way to do finance. That's obvious, right? Mm-hmm. When you got a lot of money and you got a lot of power, and both these guys do, I think it's appropriate for them to think about it as long as they don't stray too far from the business.
They stray all over from the business.
Well, yeah. I guess the business runs itself nowadays, right? Google 1.0 is fine.
It depends on how you define the business, right? You know.
Well, you got
the
He's going to keep an eye on things.
Cars don't make a whole lot of sense.
They're not the business, right?
What's that?
Autonomous vehicles are not the business.
No, but you know they'll pour the money into it. The business, sadly, is still largely people do these searches and they click on these ads. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean sadly because that's my business.
It's a good business. Search ads.
But I always joke every now and then on Twitter that all those self-driving cars are being paid for by mesothelioma ads. That's what's bringing you the future. Well, that and structured settlement and who knows what else.
That's true in any business, though. I mean, we have our bread and butter shows, and those subsidize the newer shows that are not yet making any money. I mean, that's how businesses work, right?
A lot of businesses. Yeah.
I reinvest 75%.
We just did another article yesterday looking at the arbitrage stuff that goes on with Google and say Ask.com. Ask.com CEO is about to run a counter saying, no, it's not like that. But, you search for something on Google like what is mesothelioma or something, and you get these ads from other sites like Ask that when you click on them, jump you from Google search results to their search results, which have more Google ads on. And it's all this sort of there's a lot of money being made off of stuff that is still very cruddy, and and yet it goes further up the chain into producing these things that seem very all pure and all clean or whatever. And I'm perhaps too jaded, or perhaps it's just that I've been watching too much of The Wire.
You're going through a Wire marathon. Well,
I've been binge watching. I'm in the middle of the series, so everything's very
Which year are you in right now?
Yeah, which season are you in?
Which year are you in?
I'm literally in the middle of season 3, like in episode 5 or something.
3? Was that the school one?
I don't know. They've just moved everybody into Amsterdam, and they're.
Oh,
Amsterdam. The Amsterdam. Okay, all right.
That's a good one.
That's a great. It's a great show.
Good year.
Right, because there's the boats. Season 2.
Yeah.
The first season is the.
I thought the third season was school, but maybe the fourth season is school.
And then the newsroom is the last.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the newsroom, so I know that's coming. But,
no, but Amsterdam, that's a good one.
Amsterdam's a great one.
That might be the best year. However, now everything you're gonna say is gonna be filtered through that. So now I understand. I'm glad you gave us the disclaimer. Yeah, that's a great show. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, it's obviously. When we come back, we're gonna do the changelog and find out more. There's lots more going on at the Google. But first, so Glenn, who is our TV expert here, Glenn Rubenstein at the in the network, says that season 4 is the best year. I didn't like the newspaper season, but Glenn says that season 4 is the one to look forward to. Wow, you've already.
And that's the school one.
Is that the school one?
I think is that the school one. The school one broke my heart. Anyway.
Oh no, God, no spoilers.
Sorry. No spoilers.
Season 4. Season 3 is the second best. Season 4. So you're in for 2 excellent seasons, according to Glenn. Is Glenn at home or is he over there typing? He's over there. All right. Which is, never mind. Our show today.
The Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Dang. Okay, you have time. Go Wikipedia while I talk about treats for your dog. You don't have a dog, do you?
I'm allergic. I have allergies, unfortunately.
Danny, do you have a puppy?
No, we have 2 guinea pigs. That's it.
One of the best parts of The Drop, which is the movie I was talking about earlier, is the dog. There's a great dog in it. Really sweet looking puppy, and I wanted to send him a BarkBox. It's not too late. BarkBox is treats. Yes, treats for doggies. We got our new BarkBox with jerky burgers, dog treats made with real duck. Who wouldn't like that? These are from Yumsies. Smokehouse. So, you see us talk about these boxes that come in the mail. The BarkBox comes every month, but it's not for you. It's for your doggy. Indigo Smokehouse strips. Oh, Ozzy would love this.
Yummy.
Premium cuts. Bacon for dogs. Pure pork. Fresh meat. Vacuum sealed. And then when you get a treat. That's good. That looks like a Green Bay Packers shirt. That's good. That's a little doggy chew. And then what is this? Crunchy rabbit chews. That's good for his teeth. Keep them clean. And a pennant for Berkeley, University of California at Berkeley. It's our BarkBox every month. Treats for your doggy. BarkBox is a wonderful way to kind of celebrate your four-legged friend. I think every dog should have a BarkBox in the mail. It's a monthly subscription, high quality, fun and healthy treats, toys, and goodies. 4 to 6 awesome full-sized products. Everything from, well, you just saw my BarkBox I just got. Innovative toys and gadgets to all natural, healthy treats and more. Each box is different. It's a great way to discover treats your dog really likes, toys he or she really likes. All the treats are U.S. and Canada only. Now, I'm not saying anything, but that's where you want to get your treats from. Chews are made in the U.S., Canada, South America, Australia, and New Zealand. Good stuff. Edible products do not include rawhide or anything processed with formaldehyde. See, they really care about dogs. The BarkBox folks love their dogs, and they want to love your dog, too. No glycerin, no wheat, no gluten, no soy, corn, or fillers. Minimal processing, and whenever possible, organic. Rest assured, everything is paw-tested. I love this site, by the BarkBox Office Pups. Go to BarkBox, BarkBox.com/twig, and click Get Started. You'll choose the size of your dog and between 4 different subscription plans. No, I'm sorry, Josh, they don't have a bird box. Josh says, what about my birdie? No, you got to get a BarkBox. Ozzy, do you have the B-roll of Ozzy with last month's BarkBox? Burke, we want to call it the BarkBox because Burke gets the box and feeds it all to Ozzy. And Ozzy loves his BarkBox. Oh, is that a happy puppy? He is so happy. Cutest. He loves his BarkBox. Hey, by the way, BarkBox also gives 10% of the revenue to local rescues and shelters across the U.S. and Canada. You can save 20% right now when you sign up at BarkBox.com/twig. BarkBox.com/twig. Ozzy loved it.
He's so cute, that Ozzy.
Isn't he a sweetie?
He is.
I got to get him to chew those the chew toys, though, because his teeth needs his teeth brushed. The veterinarian.
Yeah, those are the ones you put the peanut butter in.
You need a dog. I'm sorry that you're allergic.
I love them, but I just can't. I just can't breathe around them. It's a.
That's not good. It's not good.
No, although Ozzy I was actually good with. I react differently to different dogs.
Oh.
I should find one that I can.
There are hypoallergenic dogs.
There are.
Yeah.
There are. It would be great for the baby.
Oh, you're going to get one. You know what? That's why we have Ozzy. And the kids had no interest. The kids said, "Oh, that's nice. You got us a puppy. See ya. Bye." So I have Ozzy. Right.
You have Ozzy.
Me. But, I love him. So it's okay. It's okay. BarkBox. Sebastian Thrun has left in his role as a Google vice president and fellow. He was the founder of Google X and did some really interesting stuff, including Udacity, which was his online learning startup. And so apparently this has been on his LinkedIn page since August, but somebody finally told TechCrunch. He does have an advisory role. He's in his LinkedIn post. He says, "While I'm now just an advisor, my enthusiasm for Google X is as high as ever." But I figure with Udacity taking off, that made sense.
Oh, so that's his startup that he's working on separately from Google.
Yeah, Google spokesperson said, "As the co-founder of Google X and our self-driving car project, Sebastian made huge advances in computer science and robotics that have paved the way for autonomous driving technology. In his role as an advisor to Google X over the past couple of years, he's provided invaluable inspiration and perspective at a variety of projects. In Udacity, Sebastian has his own, more than a full-time job, moonshot to take, and we wish him well." That's very nice. That's a really nice farewell. So obviously,
that is a nice farewell.
Yeah, obviously.
It was all okay. It was all good between them.
If you're Google, this happens all the time. This is normal, right?
Yeah, I mean, when these stories happen, people are like, "Oh, is something wrong? Did something happen?" But I think it was in Stephen Levy's book where he interviewed Marissa Meyer, who ran that management program, and she said, we want people who want to leave Google eventually because we hire entrepreneurial types, and entrepreneurial types want to build their own thing. That's kind of a problem that you're facing too, right, Leo? To some degree.
Yeah.
It's like the best people want, the ones who take initiative and want to do everything and want to do it their way, and this happens.
I don't know if you have this in the changelog, but and I'm glad Danny's here to explain it. Structured snippets.
Oh yeah.
What are? They're now live.
I know that.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at a search engine land article.
Mr. Cotter.
Mr. Cotter. What? Okay. What are they?
Do a search for, say, Wonder Woman on Google.
Okay.
And you will see that you get a description that comes up. I'm looking ahead of time. This one's coming from Wikipedia, and you'll see underneath it, not just are you getting a description with more about Wonder Woman, but underneath the description you discover her first appearance, her alter ego,
I'm not getting
who
this.
she was created by.
Why am I not getting this?
Look, you're missing it. Go zoom right in on the very first listing.
Okay. Oh, first appearance, All-Star.
There you go.
It's tiny. Okay.
Yeah. And so you can see this for a lot of the superheroes. In fact, somebody was joking. Somebody was joking with me on Twitter about how is Google making sure that if Google's listing everybody's alter egos, aren't they revealing secret identities?
Oh, spoiler alert! Princess Diana of Themyscira.
But what Google is doing is they are understanding that from pages they have been doing over the past year to 2 years now, understanding not just that you are searching for words, which are patterns of letters, but that you're searching for people, places, and things that are connected to facts. And so this is Google saying, well, we understand that Wonder Woman actually has a thing known as an alter ego, and in fact, we know what that fact is. We know when she first appeared, and they're getting that information by automatically extracting it from web pages. And
is it all from Wikipedia, or are they getting from?
It's not just from Wikipedia. You can see it from let's try Nikon. Try to do a search for Nikon D7100.
Okay.
And then you should see the third or second listing. You'll see that it pulled off of this page the sensor resolution type, the weight of battery, the display size.
Oh.
So it's in the page So this is a DP review article where they do list these kinds of specs.
If you look at the page, you will probably find that these facts are on there.
Right.
But these facts may be also extracted from other pages, and Google's starting to, learn that these are facts from doing extraction. So it's all part of the stuff that Google has been doing to have facts and just present facts when you search. Another example, if you type in, this is before. So what you're seeing there with the Wonder Woman stuff, that is structured data being inserted right next to a listing.
Right.
But then other kinds of things that are related to this, do a search for like reset iPhone.
A lot of people doing that today, actually.
Let's not do that. How do I type in how do I reset my iPhone? Let's see if that one does it.
Is it better to do... I was searching for something today, and I couldn't find it, giving it just basically words. I think it was Moto X, and then I wanted to know if the skip worked in the... So a 2014 Moto X skip. And then I thought, shut up. And then I thought, maybe if I say, does the skip work with the 2014 Moto X, would be better. Is that me, or is that a reasonable thing to do with Google?
Well, in the past, those kinds of searches weren't good to do because you're searching in a way that somebody probably hadn't written it. Like, how does people had written stuff that way? They would just explain it. Then the search engines got smarter, but then the content farms got smarter and started writing all the content designed for the people who are doing those kinds of searches. And now what's happening is Google itself has become smarter and is understanding this kind of conversational question better. That is understanding how to parse it, so that when you go in there and say something like, how old is Barack Obama, it understands you're looking for that person, you're looking for an age, and in fact, that I have the exact answer, and so I can provide it out to you and give it to you that way. So that really
changes, so you're confirming what I kind of have observed, but it changes the way I had used to think of a search engine. I used to really think that the best way to get the result you wanted would be to actually match a string of text in the page. And if you can't do that, then to use, as I did originally, skip Moto 2014 in any order, but knowing that the best result would be one that combined all three of those. So kind of trying to outguess what Google's going to do with a query.
Yeah, and so these days now, you don't have to try. I mean, and that used to be good advice. And I used to, teach people on how to search, and I would tell them, give them those kinds of techniques, like try to think about the person who's writing the material and how you think they would do it. But these days, really just search however you feel comfortable searching and trust that the search engine will probably figure it out. To give you that other example, try a search for how to reset iPhone again.
Okay. Yeah, in fact, I'm getting the answer instead of the search result.
You get a big box with steps. Yeah. So that's another example of structured data and direct answers. It's also, and this goes a bit further, this is becoming a concern for the content owners, right? Because
I was just about to say that, because I don't have to now click on this link at imore.com. I got what I wanted.
Exactly. And so, as Google's doing more of this, you've got content owners that are thinking like, hey, is this going to steal traffic away from me? And, and you're giving me credit, but in the past, people were happy to be listed by Google because they clearly got lots of traffic, because there wasn't enough just given away for free. And so that's part of the debate that's going on. And this structured, I want to say structured settlement, but these structured snippets are perhaps more of that. Like, you don't necessarily need to go to those pages if you were looking for some of this information. You just did the Google search and you were done. And well, I
understand what
that debate's going to continue on.
I understand what Google's thinking is here, though, because they're trying to serve their customer. And if a customer says, how do I reset an iPhone? And you know the answer, you should just put it there.
And agreed. And if they can provide it, that's great. The problem is they're trying to serve their customer even though they don't actually know anything themselves.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, they don't.
They're serving them with somebody else's content.
Yeah, they're serving, and that is what their entire business model has been built off of, right? And again, to go back to those auto-driving cars, and everything you want to go to with Google, the bulk of their funding comes off the fact that people search on Google and click on ads. And the content that surrounds those search results comes from other people. And those other people have been happy to supply that because the balance has been very favorable for a lot of them. They get traffic that comes back to them. But as Google starts to say more and more, hey, you know what? We don't even need to send you to these websites. We already know the answer. Here it is. Yes, that's good for the user, but it's not so good for the websites. And it hasn't come along with Google necessarily licensing that information from anybody. Because Google's like, hey, that's just facts.
And this is what the publishers and Rupert Murdoch are upset about is, here, I just searched for how to make Jell-O shots. This, I'm telling you, this is serving your audience right there. In a medium bowl, stir together the Jell-O and boiling water. This is like...
Well, this is the how to eat sushi issue, right?
Yes.
that we talked about last week.
That wouldn't come up. I was trying to get it to come up again so you could see it.
But they killed it. They pulled it.
Here's one: how to make Jello shots. There you go.
See, Leo, if you go to you can see this example. If you go to
you must have. I think Danny spends a lot of time trying queries.
You don't want to know the stuff I try. I always feel like I'm going to get like arrested for the things on my computer that I've searched for too. It's just,
okay.
It's terrible. But do a search for how to eat sushi, and then see if you find my article coming up.
Yeah, because you wrote about.
So you'll do the search on Google for how to eat sushi, and you should just get a set of search results.
I do now. I get YouTube, I get WikiHow, I get.
And then click on my listing, because my listing should be in there. It says like the NSFW. Do you see my article in those listings?
Yeah, there it is. And not safe for work advice on how to eat sushi.
Now scroll down a bit further, and you will see what Google was showing.
Right.
And you can see that when you read it, the fourth tip on how to eat sushi was like, and don't shake the soy sauce off. That's like shaking your wanker in public, which isn't exactly correct British English for shaking your, thing.
Yeah.
That's what they mean. And it's because, and so you're like, really, Google? You're kind of giving that advice. I mean, it's not that bad. I've heard worse, but the reason is because that's not Google's advice.
Right.
That was Google extracting the advice from someone else and offering it up as a direct answer.
Right.
And the concern really is down the line, if Google just takes all the answers and isn't giving enough back to support the sites that are producing them, the sites that produce them no longer exist. And guess what? Then Google has no answers to provide.
Here, I'd
Unless
search
it
for.
just stores them all in some database, but things change.
Right, people need to make content. How to change a flat tire, and boom, boom, boom. Everything is here, and I guess it comes from DMV.org, right? Because that's in the box. So that must be the original source. That's their way of saying, well, if you want to read more.
and I, agreed. It makes a lot of sense, right? You want to, although DMV.org,
but I see the risk too.
DMV.org is not the DMV. It is just some, private website, and so and in the past that site might have gotten a lot more traffic from this, and how to change it. Thank you. Okay, pull over. But I mean, I guess whatever.
The amazing irony for me about the structured snippets is I've been a web developer for years and years, and it used to be that you would use tables to like lay out your pages, and then everybody moved away from that. And you shouldn't use tables. Well, this is actually tabular data. The structured snippets that they're pulling out of the page. So like this Nikon D7100 page has a table with the sensor resolution and the weight and the display size, and Google's figured out a way to how to discard tables that are used for formatting or not very interesting and pull in data tables that are actually relevant and interesting. So it's like everybody put a table on their pages.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the takeaway.
It can still do it even if things aren't in tables, but that's true. I mean, there used to be things you'd have to avoid with tables. The issue with tables was more that the search engines used to consider the text higher on the page more relevant than lower, and so when you'd use a table, the table sometimes would break apart, so all your, but that hasn't been so much an issue. But it's kind of related, is that for a long time Google didn't want people doing metadata.
Right.
They're like, we don't trust metadata. People lie. We don't support the meta keyword tags. And these days, Google wants you to mark up behind the scenes, not just doing stuff with tables,
their benefit,
but also mark up your content so they really understand it. Okay, this page has a review. This review has 5 stars associated with this product because you've marked all these sorts of things that are up along with it from there.
Wasn't this the semantic web movement, this whole idea?
Yeah, this is kind of like the semantic web, except a lot messier, right? The original vision of the semantic web was that everyone was going to have these like amazing, perfectly structured XML files with these like predefined standard relationships, and that anybody would be able to build an engine and suck it all in and know everything about the world, right? And that never happened. The reality is that web pages are messy, and they use lots of different tags, and Google's just gotten really good at taking in anything and figuring out what's important. But it is semantic web.
And it's this hybrid, because in the Tim Berners-Lee idea is exactly as like you say, that everything would be nice and neat, and that never happened. And not only was it not nice and neat, but you had people actively trying to be misleading with their metadata.
Right.
And so what Google has learned to do is both take the structured semantic data and extract the data even if it's not structured, and add it all up to decide when they want to trust all that information together. And they're doing all this sort of cross-checking and trying to decide whether or not they consider something to be a fact, right? Because, how old is Barack Obama? Well, if we have 100 different places where we see his birth date, we feel pretty good about that. So we'll calculate it up from there. And that's why we're finally seeing this kind of emerge where you get these structured answers. But it really is a slow revolution in terms of what that means for publishers as well. And no one really knows the answer to it yet.
Reverb Mike in our chat room says, this is just straight up plagiarism, using others' thoughts and ideas without permission.
Well, I have to say, if you type into Google, what is a scraper site? That will explain to you that it cannot be plagiarism. So you got to type this in.
Wait a minute.
So you got to type this in, okay? Type in what is a scraper site, and then the first thing you should see is a thing at the top of Google search results that say a scraper site is a website that copies content from other websites using web scraping, or effectively plagiarizing it, right? Now, scroll a bit further down. You should see my article. It says tweet showing how Google itself as a scraper site goes viral.
Yeah.
Click on that.
Yeah.
So what happened was earlier this year.
Oh my God, that definition is scraped from Wikipedia.
Yeah, so earlier this year, Matt Cutts, says, good
our
friend
good
of the
buddy,
shows,
yes,
on it. He did this tweet where he said, "Hey, if anybody spots scraper sites, please let us know here at Google. We want to try to wipe these things out. We don't like it when people take content from other people."
Oh, boy.
So this guy named Dan Barker tweeted back, "I think I've spotted one, Matt. Note the singularity as you scroll down." And his tweet, it's like up to 40,000 retweets. I'd never seen anything like it, especially for a topic that is so very like SEO oriented or whatever. Oh my God.
I'm favoriting this tweet now.
Me too. You'll join 3,873 other favoriters. And 33,000 retweets.
I think I spotted one.
I think I spotted one. Note the similarities.
Wow.
It was a well-executed tweet.
Wow.
It really is.
And screenshot.
But it really also crystallizes that conflict between the publishers and Google taking their content and are you giving it back, and then Google wanting to have rules saying other sites shouldn't take content. And
I have to say it's a very fine line that Google walks. And, and this is why they're being taken to task in Europe. In some cases, and if Jeff Jarvis were here, remember last week he ranted about the Murdoch article about what Google's doing, but I can understand that there is a position from the content creators. Hey, wait a minute.
But if you don't want your content to show up in these knowledge boxes, quick answers, can't you just disallow? I mean, isn't there?
But then you're not in the search results.
Yeah,
is that true, Danny? Are you either in or you're out? But if you're in, they get to display however they want.
That's part of the issue that had been going on in Europe, and this is where the publishers, and especially I think in Germany, have just been kind of going overboard. They complain that they should be in Google. They complain Google stole all their content, and Google's like, well, then don't be in Google. No big deal. But then they complain, well, we want to be in Google, but we don't want to be in Google News. So then they finally got Google to pressure them enough to say, okay, you can be in Google News. You don't have to be in regular Google. And then they said, well, even though they literally, even though the law changed and they had to choose to be in Google News, they still said that we thought Google was using too much of their stuff and they wanted to be paid even more. And yeah, the answer is you don't have to be in Google News. You don't have to be in Google. You can opt out of all this stuff. And they don't, because by and large, the mainstream publishers get a ton of traffic for free from Google.
Well, and if you look at that Jell-O shots, there is a link to the rest of that article, and it is at the very top. You are now #1 on the search result. So there's a payoff in a way, isn't it?
And there is that sort of stuff, but everything that's going on in Europe has nothing to do with these sort of last 2 years worth of direct answers.
Oh, I understand.
Because the Europe thing is so old and it's so...
They'll be suing about this in a couple of years.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And I got to admit, when I'm on my phone and I want a quick answer and I search for something, I don't want to scroll through a heavy page with flash banner ads.
Well, isn't that what Siri's doing?
Yeah, well, right.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think all this is...
How do I make a Jell-O shot?
But I think all this is correct, but it is that key thing that if Google is going to provide answers and it's just going to give the answers. Is it going over to the tipping point where it needs to actually license that content?
It doesn't. Siri does not, and should read me the recipe.
They read you the steps. Yeah.
It does give me the same link, but not the snippet. It's interesting.
Interesting.
Huh.
I have a hard time. I have a hard time coming at it from the perspective of like the content providers need to get paid. I get that if the content providers aren't getting traffic, then they don't produce the content, and then the answers don't happen. It's hard for me to get out of the mindset of like this is the obviously the best thing for users. If your content, if a life hacker tutorial steps were at the top of a page, like I would take that as a compliment. I would be like, hey, you know what? Google's decided I'm the authority on this topic. If someone needs to dig deeper, they're going to click through. And if they're not, that's okay. It feels like a free chapter or the introduction of my book on Amazon. I mean, it kind of feels like that, here's a sample of what you'll get. But I know that not a lot of people feel that way. And I know that this is a tough, things are changing a lot. And Google makes, one tiny change can change somebody's business.
Okay, Moto X.
I had that exact
How do I make a Jello shot?
Where I would search for, it was like earlier this year, I was searching for what is SEO. And they were listing the definition from our page and our link, and I was like, wow, you're just going to take our definition and then you're done. And then it switched over later that year where they took the definition from Wikipedia rather than from us. And I was like, why are you taking it from Wikipedia, not from us?
Right.
What
if, I'm the authority on this.
What if Google, so there is some payoff, you get authority. What if Google said, and we'll cut you a penny for everybody who reads it or something like that?
Well, I don't know that they necessarily have to pay. It's still so early that we're digesting it. What I can tell you is there hasn't been a whole-scale reporting of people saying, I no longer get as much Google traffic as I've gotten in the past, which is a sign that these direct answers probably are not robbing enough traffic from people as you might think that they would.
Yeah.
Right? So and Google still seems to be sending a good chunk of traffic to people. So I think it's sort of watch and see. And I think the real case will come into a situation where if you do see that it starts to tip the other way, where publishers might be like, you really are taking answers. There really is no incentive on some of these queries for people to click through. What way can you reward us or assure us that we're going to do better off of that down the line? And it could be that Google says, you know what? Oh, sorry. I've said okay, Google. Now
we got to fix this. This is a problem. I can't. My phone, everything is all responding.
That's fine. But it might be that people will say, we want to be paid directly. But Google could as easily say, if you want to participate in our direct answers program, we're also going to consider you to be a trusted source that you're doing better in rankings for a whole range of other stuff.
Right.
Or maybe that's already happening too. And people might say, well, great. That's a good trade-off because sure, you're going to have these direct answers and I'm going to get a little bit of credit. But you know what? That's all right because I know on a lot of these long tail searches, I'm going to pick up traffic with it from there. But so I don't know what the answer is. And again, it is so early. I think the real concern is that Google has not really shown a lot of concern about what they're doing to the publishers as they've rolled this out. There's been no like, hey, publishers, let's all get together and talk about what you think about this or what we should do or is it even right. It's just we're doing it.
Maybe they don't want to set a precedent.
Yeah. And they might want to get the Europe thing settled before they start.
Let's not bring up another issue. Yeah. All right. Let's take a break. Come back. I want to do the changelog. I'm going to do the changelog. Actually, Gina's going to do the changelog. So get the trumpets ready because we're going to do the changelog right after a word from Braintree. This is a brand new sponsor on the show, and I'm really glad to get them on because you've been using Braintree. You just don't even know about it. So a message to developers, anybody who's doing mobile apps, and you're trying to get a payments API in there. I know this is kind of a specialized thing, but there are lots of them, and there is one that you want to do. It's the new one-touch system from Braintree, the fastest, easiest, most secure way to pay in-app. You've used Braintree. If you've used Venmo, if you used Airbnb, if you've used Uber. Uber uses Braintree. Hotel Tonight, Living Social. GitHub uses Braintree. So you've probably used Braintree. It makes the payment experiences in these applications seamless, dare I say, magical. And now you can do it in your app, too. Braintree scaled with these companies from early-stage startups to the successful companies they are today and did just great. You can scale with your business, too. You know, the problem is, and as users, we know this, when you are about to buy something, especially in mobile, and you get to the payment part, it is often so horrible that you just go, forget it. I've done this so many times. In fact, there is a 70% rate of abandonment at the cart. 70% of people stop. They're ready to buy. They're ready to push buy, but your cart is so bad that they stop. And that's on desktop. It's even higher in mobile. So I love Braintree because it's a full stack payment solution. Everything your customer might want: credit, debit, PayPal, Venmo. Venmo is run by Braintree. Bitcoin, yes, and they're going to be Apple Pay as well. 130 currencies all over the world. Fraud protection, yes. Customer service, second to none. And don't worry about it taking days to integrate payments. With Braintree, you'll do it in minutes with just a few lines of code. In Android, iOS, JavaScript, SDKs in 7 languages, .NET, Node.js, Java, Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby, those kind of languages. Not French, German, and Italian languages. Elegant code. In fact, you could do this with 10 lines of code in your app. Right now, when you start out with Braintree at BraintreePayments.com/twit, get that right now, BraintreePayments.com/twit, your first $50,000 in transactions are fee-free. That's nice. That's nice. The most secure way to pay. If you're a developer, if you're mobile especially, one touch from Braintree. My brain is not working today. BraintreePayments.com/twit. Really sweet. Just go to the website. They actually have a lot of information there. The SDK is documented there. It's really interesting. BraintreePayments.com/twit. It's for a specialized group. Although I have to say the group of people doing mobile is growing rapidly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Play the Trumpets, the Google Changelog.
The Google Changelog.
La, 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 la. Gina Trapani has the latest from Google.
Well, if you're wondering about what's going on with Google Plus these days, Google isn't saying much, but at least one new change might be an indicator. Google is no longer requiring new Gmail users to connect their account to a Google Plus profile. So when you sign up for a brand new Gmail account, you'll get to a page which says create your public Google Plus profile, and there is a no thanks option.
That's wild.
There you go. I remember when everyone was up in arms because you had to create a Google Plus profile if you had a Google account, period. This is kind of a big turnaround. I
think
but
so.
There you go. Google Plus profile is no longer required for Gmail.
Awesome.
Another nice, I think I would say, user-friendly change, Google Play is going to start listing in-app purchase price ranges for apps. So starting September 30th, Google will start to display the range of prices an app can charge with in-app purchases on the Play Store.
That's because they lost a court battle in Europe, as I remember.
Exactly. Yeah, this is no doubt in response to that, right? There's the dust up over children racking up in-app purchases and their parents footing the bill. So this is nice, because when you download an app currently on Google Play, it just says in-app purchase. You don't know how much. Or if you can use the app without buying in-app purchase, or if not. So this is a nice step toward letting consumers know what they're getting into. Actually, Leo, you could probably speak to this. Chrome for iOS now added support for app extensions. And this is a new iOS 8 thing, which I actually haven't had time to play with very much. But so if you got Chrome installed in iOS, to share a website from Chrome to another app, you tap the hamburger menu, then you select share, and then you can send pages to any app that supports extensions. Ooh. Now, extensions are new in iOS 8, right? Right, Leo?
Yeah, in fact, there are a couple of ways they're used that's a little surprising. For instance, the password managers, like 1Password, and I just learned LastPass does this as well, will add themselves to the share menu. But when you share, you're not really sharing. You're going to get a password, which is kind of cool. Before with Apple, I'll go back to the share menu, and this is of course with many Apple apps, all the Apple apps and many third-party apps. And the good news is Chrome has added this because of the capability which was added to iOS 8. Previously, you could basically email, Twitter, Facebook, you could message. Now you've got this is just like Android, right? So as you add apps, this list will get longer, and you could turn it off or on. So you get a share capabilities, which is great.
Right. So similar to Android's Intents.
Very much like Intents. It's I'm not clear because on one of my phones, it seems like the list is automatically populated and quite long. I'm not sure exactly when it does that and when it gives you a chance to turn it on. I don't know, but yeah, this is very much like what Android does. The Android does it automatically, and in fact, that's a detriment because you can get an awfully long list.
You can get a very long list, and then you have apps that help you manage the list, right?
Right.
Which is
Extensions are iOS 8's response to all of the capabilities, the inner app capabilities of Android. Apple, which has traditionally sealed each application hermetically, is now finally letting applications talk to one another. I think that's huge. And they've done it, to their credit. They understood that was a security risk, and they didn't want to do it. They've done it now in a way that's much more judicious and one step at a time. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's very nice that you can turn them on and off
things
by
like
default.
that.
That's very nice.
Yep.
Lifehacker reports that apps like LastPass seem to work some of the time, but not all of the time. Apps have to update to iOS 8 to enable the hooks to share, so you might not see a whole lot right away. It sounds like this is still pretty new, and some apps are working out bugs, but nice to see. Anyway.
iOS 8
Google
is
Maps,
very buggy in general. So.
Is it really?
Oh, God, yeah.
Is it? I'm fielding a lot of bug reports about my iOS app
It's
at
not
the
you.
moment.
It's not you.
Yeah, it's not me. It's not me.
You. It's
I'm
Apple.
gonna tell all my angry users it's not me.
It's not me. No, but everybody who does apps for iOS is going to have to address it because there's issues.
Yep. Yeah, and it's gonna go out to everyone. Yeah. Right. Or it already has.
Well, adoption traditionally is very high in iOS. This one's a little slower than iOS 7. I think it's 43% now. That's still pretty high. It's only been out a week.
It's only been a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's the people who have 8.0.1 who won't be reporting bugs for some time now because they don't have any internet access.
Oh, right. This is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Actually, say again? There's a fix.
Update to 8.01 cut off your internet access.
It cut off your LTE, your voice, on not all, but some iPhone 6s apparently, and it cut off your Touch ID, your fingerprint reader. But that's all.
But the fix is out. That's it. Totally functional.
There isn't a fix out. They pulled it they pulled it pretty quickly, like within an hour. And the fix is kind of a restore your iPhone fix.
Ooh.
You press the option key and you can reinstall 8.0.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. It's about as ugly as it can get, frankly.
Sorry, iOS users. Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
Although as MG Siegler tweeted, sorry.
It will slow down the adoption rate, I think.
I think so. Go ahead, Danny.
I was just saying MG Siegler tweeted something like, good job putting out an update that takes everybody's minds off of Bendgate.
Yeah. Hey, your phone bends, who cares? You can't use it now.
Issue anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
You think they have that in their back pocket? Just in case Antenna Gate happens again, issue this update.
Unbelievable.
Come up with something that really screws things up.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah. All right, last item in the changelog, Google Maps update. Users in 20 new countries around the world just got navigation in Google Maps. The expansion is aimed primarily at navigation coverage in Africa, the Caribbean, and South America. And there are a few outliers in Nepal and Malta. Long list of countries here, which my computer is currently loading. Angola, the Bahamas, Bolivia, Nepal, Trinidad.
I didn't realize you couldn't navigate in the Caribbean.
That's because you are
an
American, just like me. Yes. It was like, oh.
So what did you? If you're in the Bahamas and you fire up Google Maps, it just says, "Well, you're here. Good luck getting there."
Yeah, I think it was just Maps pre-navigation.
Wow.
So it was something, but just wasn't everything that we're used to getting.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry, I'm so pixelated.
You're fine. And you are Gina Trapani, and that was the Google changelog. Boom, 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 boom. So it's funny because as we see the Apple users who have been in their little cocoon of Apple happy, secure, happy land, get these new features like extensions and third-party keyboards. The shock and horror with which they're greeting these is interesting. And maybe we should address this. You know, you can now use SwiftKey, which we've been using for years on Android and love. Swipe, same thing. FlexKey and a bunch of other keyboard alternatives on iOS, including one that I wish we had on Android, which allows you to respond not with text but with animated GIFs. It's just it's an animated GIF keyboard, and it's got thousands. It's amazing. But when you, just as on Android, when you install a new keyboard on iOS, you get a big bad warning that says, hey, watch out, this keyboard, third-party keyboards can transmit all the data that you type to their servers. And you should be wary of that. And it's scaring Apple users. The warning on Android, I should compare the two, because the warning on Android is similar, but not terrifying, right? I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know.
Let me read the Android warning.
Is there a keylogger specific warning message? I don't think so. Although, you know, it's funny. I've been watching iOS users try SwiftKey, and one of my friends was like, this prompted me to sign into Facebook, and it uses my Facebook status updates to figure out how I write.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Like, he's like mind blown. And it's like, yeah. He was like, creepy. This is too creepery. Like, why is it doing this? It should have told me that. And I was like, this is SwiftKey. Like, it's been around for a long time. This is what it does. Yes, it's weird that you sign into Facebook with your keyboard. It is a very unexpected thing unless you know about it, right? But it was an interesting sort of wake-up call. Like, oh, this is a keyboard that has to tell you why it's asking you to sign into your social networks.
Right.
But which is a little weird.
But you do get. I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to install SwiftKey on my new phone because it's not installed yet. I'm pretty.
Well, but I think the thing about the Android phones too that's different is that even if you don't install SwiftKey, most of them at this point will have swipe typing of some sort built into them. I assume that they've licensed
the Google keyboard does.
Developed it.
Right.
Right. But I mean, like every phone that I have right now, I can swipe type if it's Android,
right.
And I didn't have to install anything, and I didn't have to worry about any security issues that were coming along. Plus, I didn't have to kind of lose one of my keys so that I could switch back and forth. Whereas when I did it with the iPhone, it was like, hallelujah, I could finally do the swipe typing. But it's a little awkward at times that I have to. If it hasn't come up with the SwiftKey, I've got to push a thing, and then I have this little globe thing that's kind of there in my way. And, you know, it works. It's not as polished as I think it is when you're using Android. And then all the security stuff that comes with it, you're just kind of like, Apple, why didn't you just find a way to make that native, the swipe typing? How difficult was that?
So you think that's why people are using third-party keyboards on iOS? It's just they just want swipe. They want SwiftKey Flow or the equivalent.
There may be other reasons why.
I think there are other reasons.
I haven't gone through to see which
I'll tell you the other reason. I'll give you the other reason. Apple still refuses to do anything but uppercase letters on its keycaps, even when you're lowercase.
What is up with that?
What do you mean uppercase? You mean like
the letters are always uppercase?
It's like a typewriter. They're never, even if you're typing lowercase letters, the keycaps of the keyboard are uppercase.
Yeah, it was one of the first questions I got from family members who got iOS. They were like, I don't understand, why doesn't it say lower? Like, why aren't the letters lower?
So that's reason two that I immediately wanted to change the keyboard. So maybe you guys don't remember, but when you install a third-party keyboard on Android, like SwiftKey, which I do on every Android device, you get this warning: attention. This input method may be able to collect all the text you type, including personal data like passwords and credit card numbers. It comes from the app SwiftKey. Use this input method, OK, or cancel. It's very similar, actually, to what Apple's saying.
Yeah, you're right. That's
for some reason, we Android users just go, oh, yeah, whatever, and say OK. And Apple users are terrified. I'm getting calls, people oh, is it safe? I heard SwiftKey sent stuff to the servers. And then Steve Gibson said yesterday, which I didn't want to say anything, but he said, well, SwiftKey sends stuff to the servers, but Swipe doesn't. How do you know? You don't know.
Well, yeah, you'd have to set up a network sniffer, right? And use it to see.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, I feel like Android users to some degree have been like sort of Windows Vista'd, right? Like we just mask permission so many times, we just give it.
Yeah.
Danny, you tweeted the iOS prompt that said like, hey, Facebook has been, collecting your location data in the background. Ready. Do you want to continue to keep doing this?
Every app will do this once, Danny. Every single one.
But you know what? And somebody tweeted back to me how they liked that it didn't all happen at once. And I had to agree. Every time I turned on my phone, I got a different reminder. And I didn't mind it. It was like, oh.
Wait a minute. Or it could just honor your, because it asks you the first time. It says.
Yeah, but it did. It wasn't
and you say
violating
yes.
anything.
And then a little later, a day or two later, it says, you know, it's still doing that. Is that okay?
I thought that was fine.
Well,
I thought that was totally cool.
Well.
Yeah,
I
mean, I actually
I
kind of like it
appreciated the reminder that Facebook's
right.
doing this because, I just appreciated
maybe I'm not using Facebook. Maybe I decide, oh, you know what? I don't need this to be using my location data in the background. I'm going to uninstall this, right? Like this is the issue. It's like if you want to use an app, you have to grant it these permissions. Maybe I try the app. I try apps all the time and then don't need them later, but if they're running in the background, I kind of want to be let know. But yeah, this issue of constantly being prompted for permissions or being prompted with this like huge wall of permissions with subcategories that have supposedly been made simpler. There's got to be a better way.
Well, the choice is clear. Android asks you once when you install the app and then presumes that you've read that and you've approved it, and that's that. Now, you can get a list, can't you, of all the apps using Find Location. That's all it is, by the way. It's Find Location. Yeah. And on Apple, same thing. You have to approve it when you install the app. The first time you use the app, not instead when you install it, but the first time you use it, it'll say, hey, do you want to give this app location permission? You say yes. You still can go in the settings and see who's getting location. But for some reason, Apple's decided that a few days later, it wants to warn you on each app doing this. Now, I'm hoping that's not going to happen every few days because I have 159 apps, and it's happening a lot.
But it was interesting to me also that I'm assuming that there's some kind of logic that's going on because I did not get hit with every app that I've authorized to do that.
You will. You will.
But it was the things that came up immediately were the things that I probably are using the most. And so that made sense. And so maybe it'll come down the line. It's going to – I'm wondering what the trigger is. Like, hey, we've noticed that Facebook has now done its 100th update of your location.
Yeah, something like that.
To whereas, you installed emoji keyboard and –
Let's talk next week, Danny, after you've seen the 50th one of those.
All right.
There's two problems. One, it's annoying, but two, there's fatigue. And as you pointed out, we Android users are so used to it, we go, yeah. There's a risk you warn people too much. I think it's sufficient to warn. I like what Apple does, which is it warns you not on install, but it warns you the first time it needs those permissions. You have to explicitly say so. But that seems to me sufficient. To continue to warn you is a little nanny. But that, whatever. It doesn't seem to bother
you like the iOS approach of the initial permission, just not the reminder.
I do.
Yeah, I agree.
It's very easy to ignore the permissions you're giving an app when you're installing it. Because it's a long list.
Just give me the app.
Yeah. So many apps, for instance, want location information, your contacts, and your photos. On Android, you'll see all three of those requests only once when you install the app. On iOS, you'll see it when it actually asks for those permissions. When you first run the app and then you want to access the camera roll and say, hey, do you want us to give this permission? I think that's exactly the right time because you know right then why it's wanting the camera roll and what it is, and I think that's when you can best make that decision. But I question the need to continue to remind me. But you know what? This is Apple saying, and by the way, I guess this is a story for us because it's very clear in the last few interviews Tim Cook's given, this is Apple saying, oh, we've decided to be the privacy security company. And other companies are, our business is selling you hardware. Other companies is selling your information. You know what we're talking about.
We would never do that.
We would never do that except with iAds, but that's another story.
Yeah. No.
That's the marketing opportunity for them.
It's huge.
Yeah, they're capitalizing on people's fear about about what Google knows about them.
So I think, frankly, that's a good positioning, and Apple has done some things to make it better.
Or we would never target you with ads or anything, but we would partner with a big company that pays us lots of money to be the default search engine and probably gives us 90% of all the revenues when you do a search on our device and go over.
How much do we know how much Apple gets from Google every year because it's the default search engine?
I saw some estimate that it might have been like $2 billion or so.
$2 billion?
Yeah.
But
it's a lot, and they're going to get a lot off of it, and they never disclose to you that they have paid or are getting paid from Google to do that. You barely even know that there was a deal that was ever struck. Right. So
that's when you're using the Google search in Safari. That information is being leaked. When you use it in Siri, it masks that information. All of the I was told, and I may be wrong, that all of those searches are coming from Apple, not from you.
Well, they're going to come from Apple, yes. Although when you click to go through to a particular site, if you do that, it might change. And eventually maybe Siri will happen where they don't target you in any sort of way, with the third parties or whatever. And
I wonder though, so Safari, I thought I remember that Safari was doing this too, but that would be foregoing $2 billion
Safari
a year.
is doing. I think Safari has moved to, by default, HTTPS searches. But that just means you're going to have a secure connection when you do your search with Google.
Right.
Google still knows who you are. In fact, you'll probably be logged in, with Google. You might be logged in with Safari. So, and even if you're not logged in, Google is probably still going to cookie you, even if you're on a secure thing, because it's not like you're... Next time you go to Google, it says, "Oh, you're still on a secure thing. I'll throw away the cookie I assigned you the last time." Right. So I appreciated what Apple said, but what they didn't say was, but we also have deals with these big companies and make a lot of money off of them because they in turn are making a lot of money off of you in turn by doing that stuff that we said we don't do directly. So
that's a good point.
I would hope. Here, by the way, is the Apple warning, just so that you can compare it to the Android warning. I've turned on swipe. It says, allow full access for swipe keyboards. Full access allows the developer of the keyboard to transmit anything you type, including the things you have previously typed with this keyboard. This can include sensitive information such as your credit card number or street address. Actually, the Google warning is a little more clear. It's coming from, it's pretty much the same, isn't it?
They're pretty similar.
Yeah. But it scares Apple people more because they haven't
seen that,
confronted this before. I love it. Somebody in the chat room saying, "Why are you always bagging on Apple? Can't you just be?" It's like, excuse me. I think Apple people sometimes say, "No, there's just I don't want to. I don't want to hear it."
Oh, everybody says that. You can have Android people do the same sort of thing. Like, why are you always picking on Android?
Oh, no, I hear it from everybody. Absolutely. Yeah. No,
people take these things very personally.
Yeah.
And then there's the 3 people still using BlackBerry who get really upset. Well, you're saying there's only 3 people using BlackBerry.
I'm just going to see real quickly. If I do a search on the new iPhone, if the default search is Google. By the way, immediately before, it's a Google search. Before it does the search, it pulls up a Wikipedia entry. It does a search snippet right away before I even hit go.
That's the Google search app?
No, this is Safari on
Safari.
iOS. And then if I hit return, then I get the Google results. So it's actually doing it on Google. I thought it was going to use Bing too. I think Bing is available if you wish. But that's $2 billion worth of revenue.
It gets complicated. Bing is available for Spotlight searches and in Siri, but Safari still defaults to using Google. Although I'll have to go back and look because that's interesting that if they're pulling in Wikipedia as you type, I don't know if that's Google doing that or if that's Safari doing that.
I wonder too. Right.
I'm going to have to go look into that now. That's just blown my afternoon. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
And we trust SwiftKey, right? Apple users, if you wish to trust SwiftKey, you can.
Yeah.
I would trust Swipe. Here's to me, the bottom line. These are all well-known big companies. It is possible with a packet sniffer to see what's being sent back. And I think they would be discovered if they were to do anything nefarious. They'd be discovered quite quickly. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
And can I just say when I was typing in G-Bag, that was just because I was trying to or G-Pack, I was trying to understand some of the dope lingo from The Wire. And not because if you look at my search history right now,
have you noticed?
You think I'm like a startup in the heroin trade or something? What the hell is that?
I'm just trying to understand The Wire. Have you guys noticed that it seems like Google's doing a better job of catching the stuff I search for and populating the ads in other pages as I search around? It seems like it's really working well lately. I search for something and I see ads for it all over from now on.
Yeah. I have noticed that.
It seems like it's working better, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it follows you around, the stuff that you're interested in.
Yeah.
It's still, I continue to get that feeling of like, oh, Google knows a lot about me from now and from ads and from search suggestions of like things I searched for before.
Right.
Yeah. Very smart. That's why they have enough money for Google X and Google Y.
They're doing a good job.
They're doing a good job at their job.
Yeah. Let's see what else before we wrap things up. We're getting to the end of our program schedule. You can tweet a Wolfram Alpha language program. Tweet a program and it will return. What is that? Where did that come from? Let me try it.
Yeah, you can. So
tweet Wolfram Alpha.
Wolfram Alpha is the coolest.
I love it.
It's such a cool product, right?
That nobody knows about or uses.
Nobody knows about or uses, but there's a thing. I know about it and I don't use it. Although until something like this happens, and I'm like, oh, cool, let me try this. I try it and I'm impressed.
Oh, I get it. So you can tweet code in Wolfram Alpha, obviously 140 characters or less, and Wolfram to Wolfram TAP, and it will run your program and tweet the result.
Which is pretty awesome.
Now, have you played? So this is a really good one. Geographics text style hello 150 geo range world. We'll put hello on a world map and it'll tweet it back to you. It tells you two things. First of all, that it's a very succinct language. It's a very powerful language. Have you played with this language? The Wolfram language? Look at this one. This is kind of like Mathematica, which is Wolfram's.
Right, Mathematica. Program. Yeah, that cube of spheres is amazing.
This is the RGB colors in a cube of spheres. And it tweets it back at you.
I haven't actually done this, but I am now.
You're a programmer. We count on you.
Yeah, this is neat. Oh, and they attach. This is cool. So they attach the results as an image, kind of as a Twitter card. Yeah, that's very cool.
Wow! Look, you could do fractals. Neato.
But again, it's like I just want. Wolfram just seems like a thing that I want to use every day in my life. I'm just never rendering cubes of spheres in the RGB scale very often.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just not something I need to do that often.
I know, but it's fun. Well, here's one.
It's fun.
All the flags of Europe sized by population.
Yeah, that's cool.
Wow.
That's really cool.
With 140 character tweet. All right, tweet us your best Wolfram Alpha language. That's just crazy. It makes me want to learn the language, which is obviously the intent. Are we still waiting on a Nexus 7 phone or 6 or whatever it would be? Nexus 6 it would be.
I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think?
Chad, you're the one, right? You're the one who'd be waiting.
Oh my gosh. The rumors, there are no solid, great rumors.
Get a Moto X.
Everyone expects.
Sorry.
I don't know if I can in this office.
You got to rename it.
As you've demonstrated.
What's the next Android version? Isn't that Android L that we're waiting for?
The L word, yeah.
So we have to get a phone that comes out with Android L.
Well, it's due next month, according to the Washington Post.
Right.
So we might be looking at a new phone running the L.
And by the way, default encryption. Remember, this is something Apple announced. Apple used to have a waiting line for law enforcement to decrypt phones. And you'd fill out a form and you'd send the phone to Apple, and within a few months you'd get it back decrypted. Apple's announced we can no longer do that. There will no longer be a line because we don't have the capability. We've changed the default encryption, and it's strong encryption. And now L will do that too, which is good.
Yeah, that's great.
This is where the companies influence one another. I love it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. They have to release. Is that right? Do they always, with a new version of Android, have a new phone, a new Nexus?
That's what some of the developers tweeted, was that, listen, if we're going to release a operating system, we need to release some sort of hardware.
Right.
We're going to have a hardware to bundle with, which was from a tweet.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, a reference device, right?
Right.
You know? A reference device about what the default Android L, Limoncello, or Lollipop, or whatever it is, experience is going to be.
Well, you could just update the Nexus 5 and say that's it.
You could, but then you wouldn't get all those the money coming in the holiday season on hardware.
Oh, it's a profit thing.
I don't know.
But I don't know how much they sell for the Nexus 5, but
Yeah. I don't think it's a big moneymaker.
You know, it's nice having it, but I could see, is the Moto X out unlocked yet?
Yeah, this is unlocked. And it's the problem is it's not exactly pure Android, but all the Moto customizations are in Moto programs, the Connect program, for instance.
See, that's what I'm wondering.
So it's pretty pure.
What I'm wondering is whether they just put out the Nexus 5L or something, and it's just the Moto X or whatever.
It's a nice little phone. I like it.
It'll be interesting, but you know, potentially they could just put the Nexus 5 back out. You know, it's actually, or maybe it's time for a phablet. Maybe they're desperately coming out with the 5.5, the Nexus 5.5.
The Blackberry Passport L.
Yeah, right. Okay.
What?
This just came out. Would you pay $5.99 for this unlocked? It is a passport-sized BlackBerry, full physical keyboard. Nice screen, actually.
Oh, no, you had me at BlackBerry.
We shouldn't mock it. I want them to succeed. This is a product that some have been very interested in. You know, there's such a limited store compared to the Android store. Compared to the Windows Phone store, it's limited. So it's also kind of a weird form factor. It's like that. It's like a Pop-Tart. It's like you got to have... They have a picture of people trying to hold it. It's not good.
No, Leo, the wablets are going to be great.
What?
Wablets.
What's a wablet?
What's a wablet? Oh, the wide
phablet.
Yeah, you'll see. They're going to be the leaders in wablet technology. And you're not going to be talking Pop-Tarts anymore. You'll be going, every phone should be wablet size.
Wask away wablet.
Wablet. Has anybody done that yet? Wablet.com.
You just invented it. Go get it, Danny.
No, I'm sure someone's done it. Oh, no, there's not that many wablets.
I'm going to give you time to register that domain name, and then when we come back, we're going to get our picks of the week. Danny Sullivan, that wascally wablet from searchengineland.com. Gina Trapani, one of our regulars. Do you shave, Danny, or are you just naturally boyish?
No, I shave for the show.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Danny.
I appreciate that.
Nice.
Did you use your...
It was like stubble over my face.
Did you use your Harry's? Do you know about Harry's? I love Harry's. This is
oh my goodness, yes, I do.
Do you? Yeah. Harry's is a shave club basically. I get my blades every other month, and the fabulous Harry's shave cream, which is really a critical part of the whole thing. You know, if somebody could go on my desk, I don't know if they've announced it yet, but there is a couple of new Harry's products you can get from harrys.com. The new foaming shave gel and the aftershave are here. Harry's is founded by one of the founders of Warby Parker, Jeff. He said, you know, just like Warby Parker, here's a business, the shaving blade business, that is dominated by monopolies, effectively, that are keeping prices artificially high. So high that now when you go to get razor blades at the drugstore, it's not just New York City, Gina, everywhere in the country, here in Petaluma, they're locked up. You have to get a clerk, you know, and he'll check your ID and your passport before you can get the shaving equipment. They're so expensive. Well, Harry's is better for less. They actually they looked around, they said, who makes great blades? They found a company in Germany that's like the only company that makes really great blades. This is the Truman set. I have the Winston at home, which is an engraved metal, but some people prefer the Truman. You know, but the handles aren't really the key. The key is this amazing blade made in Harry's own factory in Germany. They own the factory in Germany. Andy and Jeff said we could do better than those $8 blades. If you visit harrys.com, shop around, pick a set. I actually have to say I kind of like this Truman. It's pretty nice, but the Winston's good too, and you can get that engraved. And then you're going to get, with the kit, you're going to get the shave cream, the 2 blades. So you're all set to go, and then you can have your blades and your cream delivered monthly. I haven't tried the new foaming shave gel. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, it smells good, too. Harrys.com. Here's the deal. You get $5 off your first order when you use the offer code TWIG, T-W-I-D-G. This will be the closest shave you've ever had. Harrys.com. Now what do I do?
Shave?
Offer. I couldn't resist. I have to finish the show this way. Offer code.
Santa, will you bring me a Nexus?
Can we have a Nexus?
A Nexus 6? You've been a good little boy and girl. Ho, ho, ho.
One with encryption, please.
That foaming shave gel really foams. That was just a little dabble do you, and it just, woo.
That did foam right up.
Whoa, I didn't expect that. And then afterwards, you're going to want to use, what are you laughing at? I got shell everywhere. After you're going to want to use the Harry's shave lotion. Why is my phone making music now? Oh, it's time to do something else. Well, I'll tell you what. The Moto X alarm says it's time. Shh. How do I stop this? Don't you hate new phones? It's time for our picks of the week. Let's start with actually our tip of the week with Gina Trapani. Gina?
So if you've got yourself an Android device and you want to get a taste of material design before Android L launches, Google actually released a cute little quiz app. It's called Topeka, and it's free in the Google Play Store. That's Topeka. It's a quiz app. You log in, you get take quizzes about food or history or music.
That.
Yeah. They're actually good quizzes. But it also gives you kind of an idea of what material design is like. The cards kind of move around and slide. It's got the big numbers and sort of the more material design look and feel. Yeah, this app Topeka is actually built with Polymer, which is a developer framework for making web apps that have the material design look and feel. So this is actually a web app running natively on Android, which is kind of neat too. And you'd never know. It behaves just as if it were a native app. It's just a very simple, kind of cute. Yeah, it's pretty simple, cute. Yeah, a nice way to kind of get a taste of the material design, and it runs on Android 4.0 and up. So Topeka in the Play Store.
And it's free.
It's free.
Free.
From the Goog.
These such good blades. You just never cut yourself. That's what I love about Harry's. I have been using Harry's for 6 months. I have never cut myself shaving. I don't know why. I just took it for granted that you would always cut yourself shaving.
Don't jinx it.
No, I'm not. I'm not worried. These blades.
Nervous.
Oh, it's so great. And because I get them every other month, I get them fresh. So I always have a nice sharp blade in there. It's good. Do you have a tip for us, or a trick, or a tool, or anything you'd like to share with us, Mr. Danny Sullivan of Search Engine Land?
I do. Breaking fresh off the search wire.
Yes.
If you have Google Now on Android,
I do,
and you have ever searched for a flight in the past,
yes,
Google is now going to prompt you to tell you if that same flight is coming up at a lower fare. That's right.
Wow.
In fact, interestingly, this was something that when Bing launched, they made a big deal of the fact that you could fare track and have predictions or whatever, and then they abandoned all that stuff, and now Google is going to put it into Google Now. So the way it would work is, if there was a flight that it knows that you've done all the time, you may see a Google card coming up telling you that it is now at a lower price, and if you tap on the Google card, then you can go through and do the booking. So
that's
watch
awesome.
for that on Google Now.
Thank you.
Wow. Nice.
Is that because they acquired, what was it, IAT?
That'll help them do that, where they can track that more. And they were already doing flight tracking, so it's sort of a good extension of what they're doing with it from that.
That's neat.
It's sort of surprising that you can't explicitly set it up, though, right? But maybe if you're doing that on Google, I'll have to go back and look at Google Flight Tracker. There might be a way to set up the standard thing.
And is this something that the airlines are going to hate them for? Probably.
Probably not, because you'll place the flight through the airline, so, airline's still going to get the money.
Right.
But I'm sure if there's a way for someone to hate Google about something, they'll find it. So.
They'll find a way. Very nice.
A way to blame them.
Very nice. Well, I don't have to tell you what my pick is, and you'll hear a lot more about it after I've used it for a little bit longer. The Moto X. I have to say, the Moto Maker site, motomaker.com, is up. They had Moto 360s and Motorola hints there. I think they're sold out on the hint now. But I have ordered all three and should have all three for the next time we're here on This Week in Google. I'm going to be gone next week, taking the Moto X along with me as I head to London with Lisa for a week. Who's doing the show next week? Do you know? Does anybody know, Chad? Is it Father Robert Balliser, Sarah Lane? Mike, you know what? It's Mike Elgin. Mike is a Google fanatic. It's definitely Mike Elgin. So he'll be hosting next week with you and Jeff.
Cool.
I want to thank Danny Sullivan for being here from SearchEngineLand.com. Always a pleasure working with you, Danny, and I read you religiously, like every day.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
MarketingEngineLand.com as well.
Yeah, thanks, Danny.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. We appreciate it. And thanks to Gina Trapani from, we were just playing with ThinkUp. I guess Danny uses ThinkUp too.
Gina, I kid you not, it's on my calendar every week. It says right here, write ThinkUp review. So that might be another week or two longer. But if anybody hasn't got ThinkUp, you should really get it before Twitter just buys it, which is what they should do.
You're not for sale, right, Gina?
We're not for sale. We're too expensive, I think, for Twitter now. No. Anyway, I don't know. Talk to me in a few weeks. Yeah. But, Danny, the longer you wait, the better the product will be when you write the review, because we're fixing stuff every
all the time.
Week. That's perfect, because I can wait for a really long time.
No, don't tell him that.
I'm gonna finally get to it, but it's awesome. I look forward to getting my digest of stuff that's coming in there. It's consistently giving me great things and better feedback than what I get from Twitter directly.
Well, and it's updated regularly. Because we looked before the show, and now I'm looking again. I got new stuff on here. I just love it. ThinkUp.com. You can try it free right now.
Hey,
thank you, Gina. Thank you, Danny. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to Chad Johnson, who put together a great lineup of stories for us. Today we do This Week in Google every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2000 UTC on twit.tv. You can watch us live, participate in the chat room. We love it when you do. But if you can't get here live, you can always go after the fact, on-demand audio and video available, twit.tv/twig. And, of course, on the Roku, all the apps for the iPhone, the Windows Phone, the Android phone, everywhere, iTunes, Google Play Store, wherever you Dogcatcher, Instacast, all the podcast clients, just subscribe. That way you'll make sure you get a copy each and every week. We wouldn't want you to miss an episode. I wouldn't want to miss you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Twig. Bye-bye.